one of the supplements that's currently on the market that has a lot of hype around it, especially recently, but it's something that's been around for a very long time, but it's gotten a lot of traction recently, is creatine. So I actually thought we can chat about that today. I think a lot of people do have questions about it. There's some controversies around it. So maybe we can, clarify that up, since we do stock creatine on the website. And so Suzanne, do you take creatine?
I do take creatine. I'm a creatine user. I've been using it for probably...
That sounds like you're a drug user.
That was the whole point of that comment. But it's not a drug.
It's not safe.
So I think I've been using it for probably almost 7 or 8 months now, and I have to say it has made quite a big impact on my training. I can definitely feel the difference since I've been using it more consistently. So I think it's a nice topic because it's one of the most researched supplement, if not the most researched supplement on the market. Like you said, there's so much hype about it recently, not only about or for athletes, but just for general people, for all the people, kids. I mean, it's safe to use for basically anyone. So we recently watched quite an interesting webinar on it. So it's a very interesting topic, I think, and I mean there's so much to take out of it. And the great thing I think about creatine is that it's been shown in so many articles that it's safe to use.
Definitely. What made you decide to use it 8 months ago?
So I think, like most people, I was a bit skeptical about it, because I think, I don't know why, but a lot of people think that it's just for the gym bros, and we love the gym bros, we love you guys, but and yeah, and it's a great supplement for people that does strength training, but I was interested in what effects it could have just for my training in general. And I think the big misconception, especially for ladies or for women, is that if you're going to use creatine in conjunction with training, it's going to make you buff or bulk, and that's not true. And the positive effects it can have on your training, especially with like resistance training and strength training, is really the positive effects that you can get out of it, is great. And then you have that added bonus of it can improve your cognitive function as well. So why not then?
Exactly.
So I mean, the research is there. I think just like anything, there was just a misconception about it. And what I especially find interesting is the cognitive benefits for older people. And I know this is not the topic of our podcast, but it's really important in sport. But it's great that something that was just used for sport can actually be used for anyone, especially if it's going to help them. I've been taking it for about 8 months. I started on just a 5 gram dose daily, or mostly in the week, but I want to try and up that and see if I can get it as consistent as possible, because I just usually throw it in my protein shake. Because they also the research also shows the more consistently you use the benefits you have, and we'll delve into that now because of what it actually happens, physiologically in your body, why you need to take it consistently.
No, that's great. It's good that you're seeing the results, and it's nice because it's so safe to use. The side effects are minimal, if any, and like you mentioned, it's safe for literally anyone and everyone if you use it correctly and if you use a good quality. source of creatine, definitely.
Creatine is a natural compound that is produced by the body. So it is something that our body produces that we can use. And like I said, it's stored mostly in the skeletal muscle, but also in the brain and some of our organs. But yes, we do get some of it through our diet.
Yes, because creatine is basically made up of 3 amino acids, and if you're consuming amino acids in your diet, which you will if you consume protein, even if it's a plant protein, you will get those 3 amino acids, but the body only produces about 1 to 2 grams a day. And we see that with research, we need about 5 grams a day. So it's quite difficult to get it in your diet alone for the benefits that we've seen with research. So that's why supplementing it is actually quite effective.
Yeah. So if we look at sports and exercise, what does creatine actually do? What does it do to our muscles that makes it this magic supplement?
So I think majority of the research that was done in the early days of creatine was mainly for the ATP and the energy in the cells effect that creatine has. The more recent research is more to do with, actually it helps with recovery as well. It helps with reducing oxidative stress. It's good for cognitive function, as you've mentioned already. So, but back in the day when it was mainly for high bursts of energy, so in other words sprints, or if you had to power lift or box jump or something like that, is because creatine actually provides, if you think of the molecule phosphocreatine, so it provides a phosphate molecule to ATP, and ATP is adenosine triphosphate, and that is basically your cell's energy. That's your like power that you get. So, but ATP basically, once it like hits the cells, if you want to say it in that way, it actually only lasts about 10 seconds. That's why it's so good for sprinting. And then your body needs to produce ATP again. So we see that with creatine providing that phosphate group to the ATP, it then helps with the energy production in the cells. And that's why it was shown to be very effective for sprinters and even powerlifters and anything with like short, high intensity bursts of energy. But now we also see that it actually helps with recovery because it's still providing those, the phosphates and the nutrients to replenish the stores and replenish that ATP that has been used up in that training session. So that is why we see that it's actually quite effective for muscle recovery as well. We see that it's an antioxidant also, and we know that oxidative stress increases as you exercise. Everyday life also contributes to oxidative stress, but especially exercise. It really increases oxidative stress in the body. So we need an antioxidant that really can just lower the free radicals floating around in the body, because we know that increases your risk for cancer and so forth. And we see that creatine actually acts as a bit of an antioxidant as well, reducing the free radicals, which is really beneficial. And like you've mentioned, about 5% or 95% of creatine is stored in the skeletal muscle mass, and then the rest is mainly in the brain and a little bit in the other organs. So we see that creatine actually has an effect on your cognitive or your brain health and mental health as well, which is amazing. So it's just all round a really great supplement to use with very little to none when it comes to side effects.
Yeah.
So or contraindications even, like
yes,
there's almost nothing.
Yeah.
Anyone and everyone can use it unless you have, even with the protein podcast that we did, we said that a high protein diet is safe if you don't have a pre-existing kidney issue or kidney damage. The same with creatine, because that was one of the main things. People were like, creatine is going to damage your kidneys. It's going to, you're going to have kidney damage if you consume too much creatine, and it's not the case.
Yes.
It's unless you already have kidney issues, then yes, be mindful and careful of that. But if you use the correct doses, it's really safe to use.
Yeah. So if we can just summarize it, it's basically like a battery pack for your muscles.
Yes.
If you're doing sprints or jumps or any kind of explosive exercises, you can just continue a little bit longer or a little bit more, because you've got those extra stores in the muscle already. And that's basically why you need to use it consistently,
Definitely.
so that you keep up with those stores. So when they are used, they're already there for the muscles to convert it to that ATP, and then you've got that energy to go.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some interesting research on endurance athletes as well. So basically, it doesn't necessarily have a direct effect if you are training for longer periods of time. But if you do strength training combined with your endurance training, it just has that boost for your strength training as well. If you're building that, the capacity for your endurance and so forth. And I listened to quite an interesting podcast where they explained, like I said, for the endurance race, not really, no positive or extra effect. But if you are going for the podium, and you
Yes.
need to sprint those final few 100 meters, then that extra source of creatine will definitely help you to get over the line. Maybe in front of your competitor that doesn't have the same amount, or that doesn't use it.
Definitely. And I've mentioned it so many times already. It's just the fact that there's no side effects. Like, it's better to have it than not have it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So rather have it in your system, and if you need it, then it's there at least. But that it has other benefits as well, like the cognitive benefits, also the antioxidant benefits, the recovery, and so forth. So even if you're not a sprinter or you not a gymmer or whatever, it's still going to be beneficial,
Yes,
for you actually in any case.
Yeah, so there's a few myths. We've covered some of it, just now. But hair loss was one big thing, kidney damage, and then if ladies use it or women use it, that it could cause you to, well, it will make you bulk or buff, but
swole.
but it's been shown there's no direct research that could be linked to any of those. But like you said, if you already have a kidney problem, then it's something that you should discuss with your doctor or anything.
Yes,
but
definitely.
But if there's no pre-existing conditions, then it's safe to use. I mean, some of the studies are shown, I think, children like from 7 years old that uses it, and there's no side effects on it. So if we look at the dosage, a lot of people talk about a loading phase and then your maintenance phase. How does that work?
So generally, the easiest way to take creatine is 5 grams a day. So most of the products on the market has a scoop, and that's 5 grams, or a teaspoon generally works out at about 5 grams. And that's what the research has shown to be an effective dose to really get the benefits from creatine. But what's really important, and you've mentioned it before, is that consistency. You need to take it consistently. However, let's say, for example, you're new to creatine and you want to get the benefits faster, I guess, you can definitely do a loading phase. So that's basically where you take 20 grams of creatine per day for about 5 days to a week. However, you need to split the dosage up throughout the day. So maybe split it in a dose of 5 grams 4 times a day, just so that you don't cause any gastric discomfort. And then after you've done the loading phase of 5 to 7 days, you can then just go back to 5 grams per day every day. So generally speaking, like I say, if you're new to creatine and you're really super amped and excited about it, which you should be, then maybe a loading phase isn't a bad idea. But generally it's fine if you just start with 5 grams and you consistently take it every single day. Then it should also be fine. You're eventually going to get to the levels that you need to have. Maybe if you have an event coming up and you were a bit not so great with taking your creatine, or you only starting it now, maybe that might be beneficial if you feel like, sure, but I have an event in 2 weeks. I'd actually want to see how it benefits me there, and I'm going to or you're going to ramp up your training, or whatever the case may be. It is safe to load up to 20 grams, no more, and then split into 4 doses over 5 days or 7 days, and then just go to the maintenance dose of 5 grams per day. The timing of when you take creatine doesn't really matter, and it's easy enough to just mix it into your smoothie or mix it into your protein shake or something like that, where it's nice if you can take it in combination with some carbs and protein, maybe, just so that you know that it's getting absorbed effectively, and it's it's still basically amino acids, like a protein. So however you can get that amino acids into the cells effectively, you should do that. So always in combination with a meal is always a great idea. And try to stack it. Do it as a habit stack. So you do it with your protein shake or with something you do every single day, so that you don't forget, because that consistency is so important.
Yes. And then there's quite a bit of talk about creatine that causes bloating. So it's been shown that when you use creatine, there's a little bit more water mass in the muscles, not necessarily under the skin. Why do you think that that's a negative connotation that's been, that's been linked with creatine?
So I think it might be two reasons. So the one you already mentioned is that creatine does take water into the muscles. So you will definitely see a difference in your weight. So if you're very strict and you get on the scale every day, you might see like a kilogram increase, but that's mainly water, and it's a good thing. So we want that.
Yes.
However, for someone that is doing a weight-sensitive sport, just be mindful.
Yeah.
If you are a boxer or MMA fighter and you have a weight class and you're taking creatine, just bear that in mind, because it will affect your weight. But it's not fat; it's water, and it's a good thing. We want that for the muscles. It's it actually assists in the whole functioning of it. But I think that that look that you get also when you do have a little bit more water, let's say a kilogram of extra water in your body, might for some people be perceived as bloating or retaining water, and I think that's where the kidney function thing maybe came in, where people are like, that's probably bad for your kidneys because keeping back water or whatever, but it's part of how it works. So and I think that maybe the reason. The other reason I think is to do with the formulations of creatine. I think not all creatine is created equally, and some brands might use a lower quality or cheaper quality creatine to keep the price low or the prices lower, or to increase their profits, for example. And to do that, they add fillers and other types of ingredients to kind of bulk it up, and those ingredients might actually be causing gastric issues or stomach issues. So it's not necessarily the creatine, it's actually the other stuff that's in it. Yeah. So it is really important to be mindful of the product you use. We have 5 creatine options on our website that we really kind of handpicked and looked into, because we know that you get creatine. And yes, they might be a little bit more expensive than the ones that you just find off the shelf, but they're not crazy expensive. And they're really good quality protein, because we know that 2 of the really gold standard creatine is actually made in Germany. It's Creapure and Creavitalis. So we actually have 2 brands or 3 brands that have that in them. So if you really want a good quality pure creatine, you know that you can get it on there, and you should then not really be experiencing any side effects or any issues. So maybe if you are taking creatine and you've been noticing some bloating, or you're not feeling well, or some problems, maybe look at what you're using and try an alternative that is tested or more pure or clean, and see if that's not maybe better, which I believe it would be.
And so obviously creatine monohydrate is like the gold standard, and it's also the one that's been researched the most. But there are different types of creatine as well. I think HCl has surfaced a bit quite recently. What's the difference between the different types of creatine, and what should people look out for when buying it?
So you mentioned it already. I think creatine monohydrate is your best bet. It's what majority of the research has been based on, and where all the benefits actually lie. The creatine hydrochloride, or HCl, that came out now has been shown to be, for some people that do have a very sensitive stomach, maybe the creatine HCl might be a little bit more better tolerated by them. However, in terms of the benefits or the effects of creatine, they are the same. Anything else that's a different form of creatine I wouldn't go to. I would stick with monohydrate, and then or HCl if you really feel like you struggling with your stomach if you take monohydrate. So that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
So in terms of we spoke about the practical ways of taking it, maybe taking it with a protein shake or that type of thing. Do you know if there's like a difference in the timing? Should you take it with your training, after your training, during your training?
I think if you I think the timing isn't that important. I think some of the studies have shown if you take it immediately after training, there might be a slightly more positive effect. But I think the main thing, like we've said previously, is just taking it consistently. So if you're going to take it in the mornings with your protein shake or in the evenings, just before bed, I don't think there's a massive difference with regards to the way that it's used in the body. I think it's really more for like the everyday user, just using it consistently.
And anything that interacts with it, I know some people said caffeine has a bit of an effect. Is that true?
I think the big thing with the caffeine is, or the perceived thing is that the caffeine is a diuretic, and creatine. We want water in the muscle, so it
just explain diuretic.
So it's so when you lose water, it uses the water out of the cells or pulls the water out of the cells. Where with creatine we want water to go into the muscle cells, so it has like a counter effect, but there's no research that's shown that it's contraindicated, or some people just say maybe not use it with coffee or so. But I mean, with the webinar that we've watched recently, a lot of I don't want to say the studies have shown, but I don't think there's a direct effect on it if you're going to drink your coffee and then drink your or use your creatine. I don't think it's going to have a negative effect on it.
Okay.
It's just a perceived because it does the opposite.
Okay, makes sense. So I wanted to touch on the kidney function just a little bit more in detail, and just before I do that, of course, this is just educational purposes, and of course, go see your doctor before you do anything, of course. So, but what is really interesting to see is when we do kidney function testing. So basically, of course, we test the sodium and potassium, and then we look at the GFR. The GFR is the glomerular filtration rate, so that just looks at how well your kidneys are filtrating. That's their job. So if the filtration rate is low, then we know that the kidneys are taking strain, and then of course we want it higher because then we know the kidneys are filtering through the blood and they're doing that effectively, getting rid of the toxins and producing urine and so forth. And we do see that the byproduct of a low GFR or a low filtration rate is an increase in urea and creatinine. It's not creatine, it's creatinine. So it's very important to remember that they are different. So sometimes if you get your blood results back from the doctor and you read that, sometimes your eyes kind of just read creatine and it's high and you're like, oh my goodness. So just word of advice on that. But what's really interesting to see is that creatinine is basically the byproduct of protein breakdown. So if you are exercising quite strenuously or a lot, even if it's endurance, I mean, you going for long rides on the bike or runs, or you are doing a lot of strength training, there's definitely going to be muscle breakdown because the muscle needs to break down to rebuild stronger. That is how it works. It should be like that. So if you are testing your kidneys and your GFR or your filtration rate is low because your creatinine is high, that is an important note to just point out to your doctor, or to bear in mind that it might not be necessarily because there's something wrong with your kidneys. It just might be that it's showing a different picture. It's just showing that there's muscle breakdown because you trained hard.
Yes.
So ideally, if you're going to go for a kidney test, I mean, that's always great to do because it's important to check regularly, like maybe once a year or so, do a proper full blood panel and make sure everything is sorted before you just start taking supplements left, right, and center. But if you do a kidney test, it is ideal to not do it after like a really tough training session, even the day before. Like ideally, if you had a rest day yesterday, then test it this morning and then go train, because then you can get a better idea of what is your kidney function actually. Dehydration also has a massive impact on your filtration rate, so make sure you're well hydrated to get a real picture of what your kidneys are actually doing, and then to be able to make an educated decision whether you should or shouldn't be taking creatine. There are additional tests you can do if you feel like the GFR is still not, if you know, because it's an equation between the urea and creatinine, which we now see isn't affected by your muscle breakdown and so forth. So there's another test you can do to kind of look into that differently to make sure that you can take creatine safely. So if you are really, you really want to take creatine, but you're not sure, and your kidneys are maybe on the fence and that type of thing, it's really important to explore it a little bit further and talk to your doctor or talk to your dietitian and make sure you're doing it correctly so that you don't damage your kidneys further or cause any issues, but then you still, you'll be able to get the benefits from creatine. But it is important to go and do the tests before and not just blindly take stuff, because you don't ever want to end up with a situation where you're like, I should have just done some tests before I had started my intense, supplement journey. So supplements are great, but they also should be used mindfully.
Okay. So Melissa, do you use creatine as a supplement in your daily regime?
Definitely. I've been using creatine for years. When I did my postgraduate diploma in sports nutrition through the International Olympic Committee many years ago, they already then mentioned that there's like really 5 main, we call it an ergogenic aid, meaning that it is a supplement that really has been shown with research to be effective. And it's carbohydrates, so it's supplement, but in the form of gels and that type of thing, of course. Also creatine, it was caffeine, beta-alanine, and bicarbonate. So those were the 5 that back then, and they still very effective, works like a charm for the added benefits that they have for sport, and not just for one sport, but kind of over the spectrum. And after doing that, I was like, well, I enjoy sport. I'm definitely gonna incorporate creatine in my, supplement regime. So yeah, I've been taking it for many years now, and I really do believe that if I look at the amount of training I do and the types of events, and I do from high rocks to trail running to cycling to triathlon and so forth, I do believe that it's really benefited me, and I'm helped with recovery especially, and that type of thing. So I'll definitely continue using the creatine as I go on.
And how do you usually take it or use it?
So usually in the mornings I have like a little bit of a green juice that I take, and then I mix my creatine powder in there. So it's like the first thing I take in the morning together with my probiotic and my greens powder. It's like a little ritual that I've created, and it's kind of become like my norm. It's like I do it every day, and if I miss it, I kind of feel like I can feel like I missed it. Something's missing. So I think the combination of those things really, really helps. And then I know I've taken it and it's in, so I don't forget. Because I think that's the main thing with supplements in general, not just creatine. It's like if you don't habit stack it, or if you don't have a kind of a routine going, it's quite easy to forget it. And then you really need that consistent consumption of it to really see the benefits, because it kind of needs to accumulate and reach that level in the body where it's been shown to be effective for the benefits that it has. So yeah, it's my little routine in the morning that I do, and I mix my creatine powder, and the one that I'm using now, I really enjoy it. It dissolves so easily, which is amazing, because that clumping and so forth is quite frustrating, and if your creatine is clumping, you should be worried. It's not maybe something to question. And but yeah, in general, it's really something that I enjoy taking and would recommend and continue taking for ever, since we see that it's even good in the elderly. So
okay, great. So if you ever wondered about creatine usage and you don't have any health problems, I think it's safe to say give it a go.
Definitely.
Go check out the products we have on Fuel Lab, and if you have any questions, reach out to us.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks, Melissa.